Welcome everyone. It's time for resumption of cricket from the desert. This is Cricbuzz Live in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle. It's not just a reunion of cricketers in that part of the world. It's a reunion of everyone in our family. So straight without any ado, let's say a huge hello to Joy Bhattacharya and Harsha Bhogle, both in different parts of the world, but we're all united as one.
Sorry, I can't help laughing. I mean, it was just a a day or so ago that Gautam was saying, welcome to the beach. And he was posting photographs from the beach. And now he's saying, welcome from the desert. Gee, beach to the desert, he's gone quickly. And Joy, don't you think he's got the beach look on his forehead? The tan?
Beach look he's got the tan. He's got the haircut from wherever. I mean, he's borrowed that semi-mohawk. You can't call it a proper mohawk, but he's borrowed the semi-mohawk. And Gautam, just wanted to say, are there any colors that you missed out in your shirt? I just like
black.
To have a list and black. Let me take
black. I think.
Give up. You won't find any more.
There's a great way to distract everyone from what is actually at hand. We've got to try and hit the ground running. This show doesn't come to you in black and white, despite severe requests from both my guests. But there's two colors that will be clashing today. We sometimes refer to it as the El Clasico of this particular tournament, but it's going to be a bright yellow against a bright royal blue. Chennai against Mumbai. This is match number 30, yes. But the first question I have for you, Harsha, is it really match number 30? Or for everyone out there, will it be match number 1? Can you really hit the ground running?
Yes, in a sense, it will be match number 1. In a sense, it will look like a smaller tournament, really. I know you're carrying the baggage of points. In the case of Chennai, in the case of Delhi, they're carrying the desert along with them. Not desert, the two S's, sweetness of the points along with them. But yes, it will be like a start, especially for teams that have a lot of India players in them. I mean, you look today who are playing. Chennai are playing, say, a Shardul Thakur and a Ravindra Jadeja have come out of completely different conditions. Rohit Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah coming out of completely different conditions. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about it. I only hope everyone's fit to play, because if you remember, there was some talk about Rohit not playing the last test match because of that knee or whatever. So I hope he's fit enough to play this one, because there's so much cricket coming up. He's very valuable. But it will be, yes, to be very succinct, which I'm not normally on this program, it'll be like the start of a new tournament.
Yeah, well, it's all about some players who actually have the match fitness, Joy, since you did refer to those the times on the beach. It's not just me. Several players from that tournament will be coming in here match fit, hungry, and with runs under their belt. Someone like a Kieron Pollard, for example.
Kieron Pollard, absolutely. And if you remember the last match that he has played against Chennai, he'd be relishing this opposition. He's saying that, okay, that's one thing I got right. And remember, that is a very, very important win for Mumbai. Hopeless condition against a top-tier team, and he goes and does something exceptional. And, Kieron Pollard has the habit of doing that, but he hasn't done it as often as he used to do it in maybe the early past, till 2011, 12, 13, 14. So that Kieron Pollard innings was extremely important to him. So I think he comes in strong. And again, is it the start of the tournament? Because if it is the start of the tournament, then this is around time that Mumbai starts slow. Because any start of a tournament, you can't expect them to suddenly get up the car and start revving. So let's see what happens. It'll be interesting. But Kieron is definitely fit and going. What is the situation with Faf? Do you have any idea where Faf is?
Well, honestly, as I said, I spent some time with him as we were leaving. We left the hotel together. He still had his thigh strapped up. They desperately wanted him to play the CPL final for the Kings, but there was no way they could get him fit in time. His thinking was match number 2. But we are hearing, Harsha, that they have cleared him technically for match 1.
Yeah, but I'm also seeing on the app that Rohit Sharma is not wearing spikes and he's walking around gingerly in what appears to be a fitness test of sorts. But let's look at Chennai first. What happens if Faf doesn't play? Doesn't really matter. They'll play Moeen Ali. They might play 2 fast bowlers or 1 fast bowler and Imran Tahir, and they might push Ambati Rayudu to open the batting. There might just be a debut, if you can call it that, for Robin Uthappa. But I don't think it affects them as much, because anyone can bat anywhere over there. They could push Moeen Ali to go up and open the batting, though I don't see that happening. but it won't affect them that much. The other big thing is Sam Curran isn't playing, and that opens up a second overseas slot. Normally, you'd expect Dwayne Bravo to slot in right there, but our in-house West Indies specialist reminds us that Bravo didn't bowl in the last 5 games. So it'll be too much of a luxury for Bravo to play here as a pure batsman. They might play Hazelwood instead. So they might play Hazelwood and Tahir, or Hazelwood and Ngidi both, given that the pitch report says it's going to be really hard and there's a bit of grass left.
Yeah, he probably cannot call himself an inspiration on the field like he did for his franchise back in the Caribbean. But a couple of Indian slots, Joy. If we look at there, someone like a Karan Sharma, Robin Uthappa, all obviously who have been part regulars on the side. But these are the numbers if we have a look at. Expected to obviously take spin later, since we're talking about this at the start of the tournament. Pitches are fresher right now for match number 30.
Yeah, look, I definitely expect Tahir to play, but it's really, given the kind of bowling that they have and the resources they have, I can't really see Karan Sharma finding his way into this 11. It's a very good 11. Even without Faf, it's a very, very strong 11. And as I said, if you have the luxury of throwing 3 really genuinely good fast bowlers at them, you have. And remember, Deepak Chahar does very, very well with the new ball. He does well with the new ball. So if he and Josh Hazelwood give them the new ball, Ngidi comes on first change. That's a really good bowling attack. Then you have Jadeja to follow up. So I just see with Jadeja and Tahir, Karan Sharma is, I think, a luxury that, I don't think Chennai needs to. I think they'd rather invest that in the batsman and allow their batsmen to go a bit harder.
Well, breaking news, folks. What we heard a few minutes ago about Rohit Sharma not wearing the spikes, well, that's because he's not playing. Kieron Pollard will lead the side. Rohit Sharma is not available for this first game. So it's going to be a big change. Scratch that huge number on the top. It's not Rohit Sharma captain. It's Kieron Pollard captain. How big a difference will that make, Harsha, before we give you news of the toss?
And also, just looking down that side, we're hearing Anmol Preet Singh is going to make his debut. I told you, every single time Mumbai Indians play their first game, they have one surprise pick. I tell you, they always have one surprise pick. I mean, in the past, they've played Saurabh Tiwari ahead of Ishan Kishan. But if you look down that side, who could they have picked as a replacement for Rohit Sharma? This Mumbai side works perfectly if it has its top 11, 12 playing. But if it doesn't, then you start to worry. So otherwise, you would have had to pick an Aditya Tare. So they've gone with Anmol Preet Singh. They rate him high, and you wish him well. You never know. Remember our left arm spinner Harpreet Barar? He suddenly came in and everyone was looking, saying, "What's happening here?" The question is, where will he bat? Will they push Ishan Kishan up to open the batting and play this fellow this kid in the middle, or will they ask him to go and bat up?
Well, for start, go ahead, Joy.
Go on. No, I'm just saying that you think it's an IPL. It's an IPL if Mumbai pulls a surprise on day one. Then okay, the IPL has officially started. Mumbai has suddenly done one move out of left field. One player who we didn't expect is playing. Something different has happened with Mumbai. But if I was Chennai, I'd look at this and say, Mumbai is 4-3. Okay, Chennai is 5-2. If I can put them away in this game, Mumbai is 4-4, and then not that great off. Firstly, it makes them much more safer. I mean, if I was Dhoni and Stephen Fleming, they'd be looking at it and saying, this is the time to hit the knockout punch. This is the time where they're vulnerable. They don't have their inspirational captain on the field. This is the time to hit hard.
Well, the first blow has been struck by MS Dhoni in terms of the flip of the coin. Chennai have won the toss. They've decided to bat first, which for Chennai may suit themselves. But Harsha, I reckon, I'm not sure about Mumbai as a franchise. Kieron Pollard as a captain likes to chase. That's his mantra.
Yes, he does. But remember, we are now in the Gulf, and that stat is very interesting. Team batting first, winning 16 with an average first inning score 172. In Abu Dhabi, even to some extent in Dubai, the ball was doing a little bit early on. So Mumbai wouldn't have minded unleashing Trent Bolt and Jasprit Bumrah up, who incidentally plays his 100th game for Mumbai Indians today. So maybe it's a toss they would have wanted to win. Or as Pollard might say, we like chasing anyway. But the pressure now is on Chennai to straight away tell us, all of us and themselves, what are the tracks like and what's a good score?
Yeah, well, it's one of the top teams who will have to do that. But let's also remind you that now that the toss has happened and the 11s will be announced, Well, there's some important information that you need to keep track of. Just in case you're not already playing on My 11 Circle, download the app because there's an extra incentive for you. There's a prize money of 5 crores to be won. The steps you all are pretty much familiar with, but 5 crores as a first prize, that is absolutely massive. All you need to do is make an 11 and try and make sure you're better than all the other captains. And there are several 100,000 captains across the country. Well, we talk about the playing 11s. Let's have a look straight at the playing 11s because there's been lots of speculation. We will put that to rest very shortly. Joy, the big news, as I said, for Mumbai, losing Rohit Sharma up top.
Two.
Hardik's
not playing as well. Hardik's not playing either.
So psychologically, I mean, let's forget the runs and any other contribution. Psychologically, you're talking about a team who needs to start quickly, which is not their mantra, and they've lost their two talisman. Is it something that they'll have to do differently now, Joy, mentally?
Yeah, look, it's a strong side. I think the way they look at it is to turn it around and say, we are now the underdogs. We are now officially the underdogs. Rohit's not playing. Hardik's not playing. 2 of our stars are not playing. So, we don't need to do the running. This is Chennai's match. If we get a result out of it, it's excellent. And I think that's the way they look at it. And therefore, in some way, the pressure's off their back. I mean, Chennai will look at this lineup and said, to get a chance to try and play Mumbai without Hardik and Rohit, we have to win this. The pressure's on Chennai. It's not in Mumbai. Maybe they'll play with more. And I actually like this. If you've been watching the IPL especially over the last 2-3 years, captains have, taken the toss and they've always chased. And the logic has been that let's chase because we don't know how many runs are there. But also what happens is that you're not used to actually chasing. Chasing requires a certain amount of rhythm in your team as to, how to set targets. It's a certain understanding among the batsmen. So every time they keep calling the tosses and they keep deciding to chase, but they keep losing. And then it starts evening out over the rest of the season. So I think I'm glad that, Dhoni's looked at this trend probably, and he's a very smart man. Stephen Fleming looked at it and said, let's bat. Let's put a total in the table. Because the engines are not oiled, the gears are not oiled in the first stage. Mistakes are bound to happen. I'd rather have runs on the board on a day when we are all getting to know each other as a fighting unit again. I think that's how he's looking at it.
Yep. Pollard can be very philosophical. Every time he lost a toss, and he lost quite a few, I was standing right by him there, and he would go, when the presenter would ask him, what would you have done? He said, does it really matter anymore? All I need to do is do what
It's a good answer.
Yeah, all I need to do is do what I've been asked to do better than the opposition.
Excellent. Which is an excellent answer. But I would have loved to see that photograph of you standing next to him to see which dimension was the most noticeable.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, Faf is playing. Faf is playing.
Well, I must say it comes as a surprise to me, but I guess either he had a really good flight and he did something on that flight that cured the hamstring, because that strapping looked pretty bad. But I think they need him. They're batting out there. Let's quickly go to our My 11 Circle Smart Picks, because it's not enough for us to encourage you to play. We like to give you our tips in terms of the players we think are possible point scorers. And these are the names we have put out for you in terms of 2 Chennai players, 1 Mumbai player, Rahul Chahar, Ruturaj Gaikwad, Suresh Raina, all key members. Suresh Raina, Harsha, you can call him the veteran, but that's pretty much what he is if you look at the number of games played across this tournament.
And he's not played a lot of cricket outside of this tournament. Yeah, those numbers are largely historical. 33 innings against Mumbai, strike rate of 140. But he's not played a lot recently. And even in the first installment of this tournament, he had one very good match. I was there for that one, 56 of 34 balls or 54 of 30, something like that. But thereafter, he just dried up completely. So I think this is a big tournament for him, because remember, he's also playing to retain his association with a franchise, which was slightly strained at one point, and he's now come back, and he is back to being the Chinnatalai. But they need him to score runs, because when he scores runs, then he's the match winner in that side. Can he score those runs? I'll wait and see. Because bouncy tracks, he's not played a lot. This is not the Raina that we knew in the past. That's all I'll say. Rahul Chahar is a good pick, though, because his performance against left-handers has improved enormously. So he's a really good pick, buoyed by the fact that he's been picked for India ahead of Chahal, which is, I think, a huge call. And in the first installment, he was one of the few stars for Mumbai Indians.
Yeah, I think that's the big one. Harsha pretty much answered the question I was about to ask, is Rahul Chahar pre-selection and post-selection. What does that do to you as a player? Does it tell you that, okay, now I'm in, I'm safe, I can relax, or I need to prove why I'm here?
It's a difficult one. I think Rahul at this point in time is just saying, I'm going to play it. I'm going to take it one tournament at a time, one game at a time, because there's a considerable amount of pressure, but he knows this is the golden opportunity. And this is something very interesting. That is that, if you look at it, Chahal has been a lead spinner for so long. And yet, he loses his form just at the time when they decide to turn around and go with Rahul Chahar. And I think Rahul Chahar has now got to take more responsibility, because if you remember, it wasn't just the fact that Chahal was a bowler. He was our lead spinner. He was the lead spinner for a long, long time, and he made a huge difference out there. And I think those are things that, I don't think Rahul's thinking about it right now, because, it's a complete thing. Just going back to Ryan, I'm just thinking of Ryan and saying that perhaps he'll look at this innings and he said, this is not the best time to start when, we just saw the lineups as well. They played Trent Bolt, they played Jasprit Bumrah, and they're playing Adam Milne. This may not be the easiest day to, come back and make a big comeback. So I'll be interested in seeing, Gautam, what those choices look like as we go along.
But Harsha, Rahul Chahar's importance really has been, particularly in that first half of the season, is because Mumbai don't pick up enough wickets in the power play, they were almost relying on him to be that wicket taker.
And that was Mumbai's strength, if you remember, when the tournament was here last year, in that Mumbai were taking a lot of wickets in the power play. Trent Bolt was their power play specialist, constantly giving them wickets. Even in the final, they picked up 2 or 3 really quickly. They weren't getting any wickets in the power play. The two big changes in Mumbai in the first installment were they were not getting wickets in the power play and they were not hitting any sixes. I mean, if you remember last time when the tournament was played in the Gulf, they hit 30 sixes more than anybody else. 30, 35 sixes more than anybody else. And this year, they're sort of down the bottom of 6 hitters. And they've lost one of their 6 hitters as well. And they'll be delighted that their talisman, Saurabh Tiwari, is playing again today. But I'm sure we'll have the teams up there again. But those are the big factors, yeah. And Rahul Chahar was the one who was actually shoring up the middle overs and giving them wickets.
We'll talk about one more player. Maybe he's the kind of person who can become the Suresh Raina of the future, purely in terms of being that glue of the men in yellow, and that is Ruturaj Gaikwad. He had a situation where he was not performing for a few games on the trot. They kept confidence in him, and I think that's what's made Ruturaj Gaikwad 2.0, Joy.
Yeah. If you remember the first run he had, the last year when, Chennai had this complete nightmare, they kept playing him and he kept missing out. And then when everything was lost, when he finally got his position back again, everything was lost. He was starting literally from scratch again. And then he came back and he finished very strongly. And I think that's where he's finally proven himself. And look, this has always been the case with Dhoni. With Dhoni, you cannot just expect to walk into a team. You have to prove yourself. But once you prove yourself and he gives you that tap of approval, then he says that, okay, you're the guy. And those numbers look brilliant. They look absolutely brilliant because those opening partnerships have what fueled Chennai this time. And Faf and he have just changed the way it's allowed Chennai to adjust their game. It's allowed them, it's taken pressure off the fact that Dhoni is not getting runs, Raina is not getting runs. So they are very, very vital. That's the engine up front for them. And what I love about it is that, for Chennai, every year, that sort of equation changes. So now this is the Chennai formula that, okay, these two are going to make runs because that number 6, 7, 8 exploding is not happening this year. So they've just changed the way they play, and that's brilliant.
But Harsha, interesting, before we have a look at the teams, obviously we know we're already talking about a few surprises, Anmolpreet Singh. The one surprise for me, and we talked about it just before the toss, was will DJ Bravo play? And he is in the 11 playing as a batsman. So unless he's felt that his groin is better and he's going to surprise everyone and bowl, DJ Bravo as a batsman, do you see a role for him there?
But he has to bowl because they've got otherwise they don't have enough bowlers. I mean, they like to play Jadeja and Moeen Ali as a combination of 5th and 6th bowler. But if Bravo's not bowling, there we've got that. Hazelwood, Chahar, Thakur. Now, remember, Thakur is coming out of very, very different conditions, so he might take a little bit of time to settle in. If Bravo's playing as a batsman, which is very unlikely, he might bowl 2 overs maybe. Then you've got Jadeja and you've got Moeen Ali, and that's it. That's your bowling. So obviously they've done a test on Bravo. He has to bowl. What they might say is, okay, Thakur, Chahar, Hazlewood, give us 12 overs there. Though Dhoni doesn't think like that. He just makes up his bowling combinations on the fly, as it were. But Jadeja and Moeen Ali. So if Mumbai get off to a start, and if Bravo's a little ginger and the left-handers start to get going, it'll be interesting. Moeen Ali's they're batting very, very deep. I mean, can you imagine Deepak Chahar has won you a game as a batsman? They won India a game as a batsman not too long ago. They're batting very, very deep. And that I won't be surprised if they continue being the 6-hitting team that they were. I almost got the impression in the first installment that they were making up for all the 6s they didn't hit in the previous year. Because in the previous year, they were not allowed.
But
then they've already, this year they put the traditional leaders away. Because how do you make sure that Mumbai doesn't hit that many 6s? Because Mumbai, the big 6s, just make them play in Chennai. So after Mumbai played in Chennai, so Mumbai this year is somewhere, I think, second last or something in terms of 6 hitting. Because, hey, hitting 6s in Chennai is like, cracking all 4 streets at Cat. So, now there are 8 streets in Cat. But yeah, it's one of those things. So I think that's the interesting thing about it, how the game is again changed. What I'd be interested in knowing is who are going to be the death bowlers for Chennai. Because if you look down that order, Shardul may bowl at the death. Deepak Chahar doesn't enjoy bowling at the death. Hazlewood also is better in the front than at the back. So I have a feeling they will have to use a couple of overs of Bravo at the death. They don't have that many death options. Or they could use a spinner as well. Of course, they've used Tahir before. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see how MS Dhoni rotates his bowlers. Obviously, it just looks like Moeen Ali will have a role to play. But the battle between Shardul Thakur and Deepak Chahar, Harsha, now that both of them have been winning India games with bat in hand, do they become contenders for an all-rounder spot almost?
Deepak Chahar was in my team for the T20 World Cup. No doubt at all in my mind. I think India have picked a lot of spinners on the assumption that the tracks will get slower and lower as it goes along. But Deepak Chahar was in my team, no doubt at all, because he gives you those overs up front. He was swinging the ball, which does happen a fair bit here. And both of them have got to deliver as bowlers in this game. Shardul Thakur is no longer the 4th seamer in a test side here. Shardul Thakur is one of 3 quick bowlers in this side. He's got to deliver up front. I won't be surprised if he bowls late at the end, if he goes in bowling till 17, 18, and then we see a little bit of Bravo towards the end. But I'm looking at that bowling, and I'm thinking you take wickets early, by the way, because even though Mumbai might be a bit handicapped without Rohit and Hardik, if Pollard is going, you want a bowler at the end. So you better take a lot of wickets early.
Yeah, well, no matter what they decide in terms of Chennai, it's Mumbai who have surprised us with that one selection. Mumbai fans will just hope that the tradition doesn't continue in terms of their slow starts. Adam Mill, Harsha, you call that one in terms of who they will pick in addition to Bolt, and here it's Pollard and de Kock.
And he'll give a little bit of batting, but he's been one of the lead players in the 100. In fact, he bowled at an economy rate of under 6 throughout the tournament and picked up a lot of wickets. So Adam Mill could be this big breakthrough player in this team. If the conditions are good, he'll bowl fast. So it's gone back from that point of view to Bolt, Bumrah, Mill, three fast bowlers. But clearly in this team, Krunal Pandya has got to give you 4 overs. You don't want to be going to Pollard in these conditions. But who's going to open the batting? I don't see them opening with 2 left-handers, because if they open with 2 left-handers straight away, they're giving Moeen Ali the opportunity to bowl some overs up there. So maybe Surya 3, Ishan 4. If they've got to do that, then either ask young Anmol Preet to go straight up and play a flyer, or Mumbai's player for all seasons. Saurabh Tiwari.
Yeah, I like the way we sneak that in. One Pandya missing, remember? So in case all of you have just tuned in and are wondering whether we've got a mistake in the names we've put up, no, it isn't. There are 2 big names missing for the Mumbai Indians, and that, of course, the captain himself, Rohit Sharma, and Hardik Pandya. So just one member of that family will be playing. Anmolpreet Singh sneaks in there, as does Saurabh Tiwari. But one real issue that we'll be talking about is bowling in the power play. And let's put some numbers up and see if we can try and tell the story of what we were briefly referring to earlier in terms of power play bowling and how important it is in this particular format. We mentioned earlier why Rahul Chahar played an important role, and he picked up those wickets later on. So I think that is something bowling first, not that they chose to do so, Harsha.
Yeah.
They will immediately want to rectify. They'll want to get rid of a Faf and a Moin, whoever it is up front.
Absolutely, want those power play wickets up front straight away because they've got Trent Bolt. He'll be looking for some swing. I asked Trent Bolt last time once, is the ball swinging? And he looked at it and said, yeah, sometimes max and over and a bit. But if Bolt can give them that start, see the advantage they have with this setup is if Bolt gives them 3 overs up front. Though now without Hardik, they might be tempted to give him 2. But if he's bowling well, if he's bowling 3 overs up front and taking wickets, the side changes because then that leaves Bumrah to bowl more overs at the death. So very important for Mumbai, especially against this Chennai side that bats so deep that they pick up wickets early on. Now, what are we getting here? Strike rate of 19 and for Chennai in the power play. Look at Mumbai, 2 wickets in the power play. No, that wasn't Mumbai. That was some other team calling themselves. They hadn't trademarked the team. So some other team quickly slipped in and took the domain name or whatever and came and bowled in the power play. That is not Mumbai. I mean, economy rate was good. Bumrah wasn't giving them wickets, if you remember. But he was bowling at a very good economy rate. But this Chennai side was starting favourites in this game. No doubt in my mind, Chennai are favourites in this game. You've got to get wickets up front.
But Joy, normally when we see numbers like this, it'll probably be 13 versus 11. We clutch at straws. We try and say one team slightly better. This is a gulf. I mean, nothing to do with where they're playing. There's a huge gap between the two teams.
I think Bumrah is only one of only 2 bowlers who's bowled more than 50 balls in the power play who hasn't still taken a wicket there. Of course, one of the reasons is that they're determined not to give him wickets up front. So a lot of it is that we are not going to give wickets. But generally when that happens, that you're trying to not give wickets on one side, you tend to leak wickets on the other side, which is always why fast bowlers love hunting in pairs. That, you're trying to avoid one of them, the other guys will, pick it up at the other end. But that's the thing that somehow, obviously, Bolt again, perhaps let it be put out there that Chennai may not be Trent Bolt's favorite pitch in the world to bowl at. He doesn't look and say, wow, if I had a ball and I was bowling in Chennai, that's where I really want to bowl. I don't think that's going to happen. He's going to be far happier with the conditions out here, at least much, much more than he would be in Chennai.
In terms of conditions on the surface, Joy, the condition on the surface, he comes from New Zealand. 38 degrees may not be much to his liking, but in terms of conditions on the ground, yes. To that extent, you're right. I mean, he was one of their lead players when they won. He was a huge part of their first even-numbered title last year.
Give us an idea, Harsha, of exactly how. I mean, when was the last time you popped your head out of the window, or does the window not open?
You have come from freedom and the beach. You have come from watery lands and Schwartz and walking out in the sand. I have been room locked for the last 4 days, so I have no idea. But what I do know is I've pulled my curtains completely because that side is the west. My room gets really, really, really hot at this time. So I've actually had to pull all my curtains. It's that hot when it comes here. When we landed, you heard this, and the temperature is 43 degrees. I said, okay, welcome.
Well, let's just put one thing straight. It was a very strict bubble. The only difference was it was a bubble that had a beach and palm trees, etc.
Yeah, bubble. Instagram. You, Bhimani, on Instagram talking about bubbles. That looked like a resort bubble to me. I mean, every single time I saw an Instagram picture, you were wearing a different shirt. The colors might have been the same, but you're wearing a different shirt. And you can see, as I said, right up here, you look like a beach tan person.
Yeah, well, almost a yellow tan. So it's the men in yellow who will be batting first, Joy. And given the fact that they have decided to do so, they are the ones, as you said at the start of this program, they will have to sort of lay down the marker almost for this half of the tournament. Different venue. We don't know what a good score is going to be. So onus is on them. And the Chennai batting has actually been aggressive, unlike maybe a few years ago.
Yeah, look, you have to be aggressive. If you're batting till number 10, you have to be aggressive. You have enough players to do that. And also, what I'm expecting this year is also to see, runs per over 12.86. So death batting has been fantastic for them. They've really delivered. And to have those numbers with the kind of numbers Dhoni's had, I think Dhoni scored some 37 in seven matches. So other people are delivering these numbers. Also expect them, people like Deepak Chahar, to float around a lot. If they suddenly see that the occasion is there and they're going to send them there, there are 3 overs, 4 overs left, they could send hitters up front. They have those 10 batsmen. They have that kind of flexibility to really, really flex their muscles. And one of the reasons for batting first, when you bat first, you don't bat with just 7 batsmen. When you bat first, you tend to bat with deep sides so that you can attack from the start. And I think that's what they're going to do.
The other number there, Harsha, that was interesting was the number of wickets lost. I think it's always good to pick one number from a particular story we are trying to tell. And in this case, the story was the least number of wickets lost. And that is something that has given them that push to be where they are on the points table.
And that is what they're doing this year. Last year, they were in a hurry to concede the first 10 overs and then see what they can make out of it. So this year they've played those first 10 overs really well. I mean, that was not Chennai last year. That was just some other team that came in masquerading. They had all kinds of trouble. They had COVID issues early on. Raina left and went away. And then all of a sudden, between, they played Jagadisan and they played somebody else. And Dhoni said, I'm not convinced. Everything that could be wrong was wrong about that tournament last year for them. And see how they've come storming back at the halfway stage against a team like Mumbai. They're starting favorites and they're ticking off all the boxes. So they will bat deep. Joy mentioned Chahar. They might even use Thakur as a floater if required somewhere. The other thing with this team is, look, Moeen Ali left-hander, Ravindra Jadeja left-hander, Faf, Ruturaj right-handers, Raidu right-hander. They can slip in these left-handers everywhere, but these two have been incredible. Moeen Ali has left England to come to Chennai and discovered himself. Strike rate of 157, strike rate of 161. Even as bowlers, these two have been just fantastic for them. And all eyes will be there. Moeen's had a good 100 as well. When he's back home, when he plays for England, he sort of meanders, wanders around somewhere there, lost, not knowing. Played blind man's buff. When you used to wear those glasses, you walk around, not sure what his role is. He comes here and suddenly he's the key player. And I think when he was captain of his side in the 100, he reveled in the extra responsibility that was given to him. I expect him to be a big player again.
Yeah, the England colours is what everyone in England kept talking about. Whenever you saw tweets of any Englishman, they were all talking about why Moeen Ali in yellow cannot do the same for the Three Lions. But that was the reality. He's surfaced for Chennai and Jadeja as well. We remember there's
one other factor though. Yeah, one other factor: much bigger grounds, much bigger grounds. So that will be a factor too. Since we're talking 6 hitters, much bigger ground. Mumbai were hitting those sixes on big grounds. Of course, when you go to Sharjah, it's a separate story. We talked about that yesterday, a couple of days ago. But Abu Dhabi, Dubai, big grounds.
Yep. So we will see with the big grounds what happens. But Joy, Chennai are going to be laying sort of the marker for big scores or what scores are right in this tournament. It's your turn to lay the marker for difficulty levels on quiz questions. How are you starting off this season?
Give us
a good one to start, Joy.
Okay. In what way are John Parkin, Gulam Parker, Jacques Kallis, and MS Dhoni connected? Two legends, two people who had probably... Gulam Parker had a very decent domestic career. John Parkin's domestic career also was nothing to write home about. But in what way are these 4 people connected? The list is not exhaustive, but these are 4 of the prominent names on this list. One hint? Should I give a bid?
No, I guess what we'll do is...
You're feeling very kicked about this, right?
Let people...
Yeah, no. I have one hint. I must give it. Best view in the house.
No, don't. Gautam, don't. He's looking like this cat. Can't stop grinning because he said a tough question. He desperately wants to give a hint. Don't take the hint. Deny him.
It will be answered before this show ends. I promise you that.
Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Get your answers in. We will give you the hint for those of you who want to still attempt it. We will give you the hint at the halfway point, and of course, the answer will be revealed at the end of game number 1. But let's get some predictions in. We'll try and sort of change it around. But let's get a 20 over prediction, because that's really, I think, going to send, as I said, set a marker for this tournament. So Chennai decided to bat first. 20 overs, Harsha.
Par score 172, a little green, little bouncy. Mumbai have lost out with the batting, not so much with the bowling. 170. I'll go close to par.
Very close to par. That's not quite your golf handicap, is it, Harsha?
Golf. I mean, I want to play golf, but one day I did play golf and I hit it over mid wicket. And then I was very clear. I said, let me just open my shoulder and open up like this. And I hit over extra cover until Gautam made me hit some balls in Zimbabwe, Bulawayo, or wherever, all those years ago.
We played a bit of hockey while we were playing golf, Harsha. That's good to have.
I was hitting the balls. I was hitting all along the ground straight. Tuck, tuck. Yeah.
That's the way to go for it. You need to have other golfers who are as bad as you to feel better. That's the way, the nature of the game. Joy, you've had a few moments to think about it. Harsha's gone 170.
I'm going to go 155. And here's my theory. My theory is that Chennai is going to play safe, because they're going to look at this Mumbai batting order and say, these guys may not be as rock solid in Mumbai batting side as they normally are. And I really, the thought of Bolt, Milne and Bumrah bowling together is quite a formidable proposition. I'm saying 155, and I'm going to lowball this one.
All right. I had a number in mind. I'm going to stick to that before I get any pressure from Harsha. 161.
Not
because I'm squeezing in. I promise you, from the next prediction, I will go first, so I don't look like I'm squeezing in.
Do you want to just sit back a little, Gautam? That fence that you're sitting on might be getting a little uncomfortable. Just sit back a little bit. Because there's two contests on, by the way, today. I must tell all of you, there's always two contests that take place. Mumbai versus Chennai is the one you're watching for, but the one that generates more palpitations is Gautam versus his partner playing fantasy.
My 11th circle, yes, absolutely.
He pulls us back.
Remember that. Let's leave you with one more number. All-time head-to-head between these two, 12 for Chennai, 19 for Mumbai, and since 2018, 2 for Chennai, 7 for Mumbai. Remember? Circumstances are very, very different. So can those numbers be turned around? No Rohit Sharma, no Hardik Pandya, Pollard leading Mumbai, Dhoni leading Chennai. It's going to be all to play for. We will catch you in the 10th over with Cricbuzz Combox. But for our first show on resumption, this has been Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle. We'll see you soon.